Okay, I lost connection because I got a phone call, sorry. So this is the denim blue kit. You can see it goes from a very pale sky blue through to a dark denim. Very, very pretty. Wouldn't that circle vest look gorgeous in these colors? Then I have a turquoise kit, which is similar to the teal kit that I did the original in, but this has, it's a little bit brighter. It's a little brighter in the blue-green color family. So we start with the pale one here, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. It's very similar to the one that I made the sample in. That's the turquoise kit. And then the third kit is a green kit, which is very earthy, and it looks like leaves and trees and bushes and ferns. It's really, really pretty too. Okay, so here is the green kit. This is a very light, like herby green, and then it goes through to darker, like pine greens. It's so, so pretty. All three are just simply gorgeous, and all three would be absolutely stunning to use for the Priscilla circle vest or circular shawl. You could also use Be So Fine or Be So Fine Silver Bling or Be So Fine Gold Bling or Toasty, Be So Toasty or Be So Lush. Any of the #1 fingering weight yarns in a single color would be absolutely gorgeous for this too. The gradients are gorgeous, but solid colors would be really pretty as well. So there really is no wrong way to pick a yarn. Pick a color that speaks to you. The pattern is not difficult to do. I think you're going to really love this one. And if you wanted to, you could use a thicker hook or bigger hook and do a single strand of Be So Baby, or use even a bigger hook and use a doubled strand of Be So Baby. So like hold 2 strands at once, and you could make it a fairly large throw. Like what if you doubled Be So Baby yarn and used like an 8mm hook like we did on the Sherry throw, the one from, remember this one? That I believe is doubled Be So Baby yarn, and that would, doing a bigger size like that would be absolutely gorgeous for a throw as well. So lots of ways you can use that pattern for making a circle vest or making a home deck circular throw. Lots of fun things there. Does anybody have any questions? I've got more stuff to show you, can you believe it? But what book is that? That is 52 Crochet Gifts. That's the same book that the Natalie headscarf is in, the one that I'm wearing today, the Natalie headscarf, and 52 other crochet gift patterns. Thanks, Joyce. Yay, Thea's got that book. Wonderful. Any other questions? Thanks, Judy, for sharing links. I know everybody appreciates having access to those without having to look, or having instant access as well. Does the pattern tell you when to change color? Yes, it does, Julie. But again, that's optional. You can choose to change color every row. You could choose to change color every 2 rows. I chose to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or you could choose to go in a different sequence, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's all sorts of ways that you could modify the color changes, but to do the color exactly as I did in the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sequence, the pattern will tell you how to do that. Thanks, Rinny. I do love a lot of stuff in that book too. I'm very proud of all of the books that I've written. I put a lot of thought, heart, soul, blood, sweat, and tears into my books, and I'm very proud of them, and I'm really glad that you like them too. Possibly, I don't have something planned right now in the sporty, but certainly could be a possibility. Yes, yeah. Sometimes my kitties want to be in the photos. It's like they want to be in photos when I don't want them to be in photos. If I want to take a photo of them, they're like, oh, paparazzi, no photos, please. And then if I want to take a photo without them, they're like, ooh, can I be in the photo? You know how that goes. Murphy's Law, right? So I have some unpublished Thanks, Joyce. Thank you. I photographed the Priscilla vest and the Maybelline crochet and fabric patterns both right before the podcast yesterday. That was pretty exciting and quite a deadline. I gave myself 10 minutes to photograph both of them. So that was a little high pressure. Oh, I was going to tell you about the name, why I picked Maybelline for the name of this pattern. So I think I told you a while ago that for the spring collection, I've been inspired by coming up with names related to Elvis Presley, because on Valentine's Day I watched Blue Hawaii, and in the movie the main character, the female lead, was a character named Miley, spelled M-A-I-L-I-E, and I thought that is so pretty, and so I wanted to use that name in one of the spring collection patterns, and I have in one that's not released yet. And I thought, well, how fun, why don't I find other names related to Elvis Presley that are girl names? And I got to tell you, once I started searching, this is a thing. This is a thing, because there are people out there that when naming their babies who are super duper Elvis fans will look for names that are related to Elvis. So I was able to find a huge library of names to choose from. So Gladys is Elvis's mom's name. There were names based on the first person he did this with, the first person who gave him a job. Like, there were random ones too. And Maybelline is a song by Chuck Berry that was covered by Elvis, and so they included that name in the list because it is a song that Elvis did perform, and I thought that's cute, so I added that one. So we have Priscilla for his first wife, Miley for the lead in Blue Hawaii. We have so Priscilla, Miley, Gladys for his mom, and Maybelline for the Chuck Berry song that he covered. I think that's it. If there's more patterns, we might keep going with it, or we might move on to another theme. But isn't that fun? I think it's, remember, what book was it that I named the pieces from Days of Our Lives and Another World and Santa Barbara, the NBC soap operas that I used to watch when I was a kid? What was that? I think that was 80 Handmade Gifts, right? I think in 80 Handmade Gifts I used soap opera names, so I ended up needing so many names for 80 Handmade Gifts. So I ended up using not only character names, but actresses' names who played the characters on those, and I needed all 3 shows in order to keep going for 80, and we did it. It worked. That was really fun too. So anyway, that's the story behind Maybelline. Now, I was organizing some things the other day, and I found a couple of patterns. Oh yeah, okay, I'll show you the unpublished pattern in a minute and get your thoughts on that. But first, I will tell you the Marlon story. So Marlon is working for a tennis maintenance company right now, and he works nights cleaning and breaking and resurfacing clay tennis courts. And it's an outdoor job, right? We live in Florida. He calls me in a panic last night, and he was starting a long 24-hour shift job last night. He had to do 2 shifts back to back because people are on vacation. He calls me at the beginning of his shift, panicked. He goes, I just got bit by a snake last night. And I was like, oh my God, do you know what kind of snake it was? He goes, yes, it was a corn snake, so it's not poisonous. I said, okay. So he tells me the story, and I'm freaking because you know how afraid of snakes I am. He says he was sweeping a court that had leaves on it right next to a fence, and he felt a pinch on his back, and apparently the snake had jumped off the fence onto his back, bit him on the back, and as he's reaching around to say, what is that pinch on my back, he feels a snake, grabs the snake, rips it off of his shirt, and throws it. I am freaked out just thinking about it, just telling you the story. The whole thing freaks the heck out of me. Anyway, I'm like, let me go, let me bring you first aid supplies. Tell me where you're at. He's like, I'm an hour away. I said, I don't care. Just tell me where you're at, and I will bring it to you, bring you first aid right now. And he said, no, because he's like, no, that would be embarrassing. I'm like, oh. So I said, promise me you will go to the public bathroom at the courts where you're at and go put some soap on it right now. He goes, I can't. I'm in the middle of this court right now. I will afterwards before we move on to the next place. I begged him to go. He wouldn't go. He said he would clean it up. And he did scream. He was scared at first. So he did go and put some soap on it, and then I did some researching, and from what I found out, it was only a 2-foot corn snake, non-poisonous, non-venomous. From what I read online, it is less dangerous than a dog or a cat bite because the teeth are so small that they really can't reach too far into the surface, and they don't carry as much bacteria as even dogs and cats, go figure. So unless he was like fooling, they said if you were in your garden and you had dirt all over your hands and you got bit by a snake, then you were more susceptible to infection. But they said, from what I was reading, based on how he was bit with clothing on and everything, that it wasn't even an infection risk, which I thought was bizarre. So they said all you really need to do is clean it up, and yeah, but it did go through his shirt, but his shirt was clean. And so anyway, by the time he got home last night, he got home around 4 o'clock in the morning, crabby as can be. Oh my goodness. I woke up, walked out to try to convince him to use first aid. He refused because he was crabby, whatever. Those of you who have teenagers, and he's still 18, so technically he's still a teenager, even though he's a quasi-adult teenager. He refused to do it, but I made him show me his back. I didn't even see a bite mark on his back, so I think he only got scratched, kind of like if you got, remember, think about it, like if a cat scratches you and you get welts, if they don't really pierce the skin. I have a feeling that he got bit, but possible it didn't break the skin, so I think he caught it really quickly, and maybe because he had on clothing, it made it even harder for the snake to penetrate his skin, and it might have happened quickly. That's very scary. Carrie, I think you said your son got bit by a cottonmouth. That's a totally different story, but this was very scary nonetheless. And then between him coming home and being crabby, and but after the first phone call, he did call me a couple hours later to tell me that he was kind of thought it was that he felt like a badass. Sorry for swearing, but he felt like it was a tough guy story then, that he ripped a snake off of him. I'm like, well, yeah, if nothing bad comes about, then I suppose it is a fun story for him to tell. But man, it was kind of scary last night. Definitely for me, especially since I'm petrified of snakes, you know. So me having this crochet hook touch my leg this morning, I got touched by this and I kind of panicked earlier. Well, that's why. All right, so I promised you one more sneak peek this morning, and I wanted to show you this bag pattern that I have made and have not released yet. And I've been on the fence about whether or not it would be a better cowl or bag, and maybe that just means I have to release some options in the pattern. So I made this really big bag with 5 colors of Be So Baby yarn. Isn't this pretty? And originally I was going to line it, and I'm starting to think it's got such a beachy vibe to it that I think it would be better unlined. So it's different kinds of motifs. There's square motifs and triangle motifs, and then there's a flat bottom base, and I added specific holes in the top here so that when you close it up, it has that accordion fold on the sides, you know, the kind of top I'm talking about. And so I wasn't sure if you guys would rather have, oh, and I took 5 crochet chains and did a 5-strand braid for the straps, which I think will be so fun to teach in a video. Would you rather this as a bag pattern, or would you rather me cut off the base and make it into a cowl? Because this size cowl would be luxurious and gorgeous as well. So I was just kind of curious what you guys thought. Would you rather see it as a big bag or as a cowl, or maybe with an option of both? Oh, I see quite a few people saying you like the bag. Okay. Well, then I'll probably do both, because I think, and now that I'm coming back to the beach again, I think I'm going to really want this size bag, because honestly, I used 3 bags this morning to bring everything down to the beach that I wanted, and I think that it might be really awesome to be able to throw everything in one bag. So just to give you an idea of what colors I used here, this is ecru, turquoise, aquamarine, peacock teal, and chocolate. How gorgeous are those colors together? And then I did them in a different sequence of colors. So let's say that those colors are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, ecru, turquoise, aquamarine, peacock teal, and chocolate. let's say that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So then the adjacent motifs are 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Does that make sense? I think I think using 5 colors in 2 different ways like that is really what gives this bag so much definition and detail, even though it's a relatively simple motif, and it is the same motif that's done throughout. It's done in a square, and then I modified it to a square in the round, and then I modified it for a triangle in rows so that we could get nice straight edges at the top and bottom for being able to turn it into a bag or a cowl. Okay, so I think the vote was making it both ways. So, all right, we'll add both varieties to the pattern. Why not? And then you can make it both ways. Pamela thinks it looks very similar to the Cosmo bag. You're probably thinking that because the squares are turned on the diagonal for the diamond shape. It's actually not it's not very similar to the Cosmo bag, but the squares are turned on the diagonal. So I think that's probably where you're seeing some similarity. Definitely. And it's done in the same yarn. I do like turning squares in the diagonal. It does give it a little something extra. All right, well, we are out of time, but I want to thank you all so much for taking time out of your busy day to spend a few minutes here with me. I hope you enjoyed all the show and tell, some sneak peeks, chatting with me and everyone else here. Certainly hope you enjoyed the beach, the colors. We didn't even talk about the colors at the beach, but we did talk about the waves. Let us make time to create, share, and inspire today and every day. It's Friday, so have a great weekend. Try to spend a little bit of time on self-care for yourself, and I promise to do the same if you're so inclined to join me in 30 minutes for the live premiere of the Reina hat tutorial video. I will be in the chat room answering questions if you have any, and have a great weekend. I'll see you Monday. Bye-bye.